Welcome, dear listener, to Right Here, Right Queer. This is Noah Hawthorne, and today I'm joined by Luna Daye.
Hi,
Hello, it's so good to chat with you.
it's good to be here. Although I was a little nervous before coming on today, I don't know why.
It's all right. It's always exciting when there's a new book coming out. And speaking of new books, why don't you tell us about your new book that's coming out?
Yeah, so my next book coming out is Fae's Bargain, which is book 4 in the Fated Fae series, and it's coming out on the 31st of October.
What a great day to have a book come out.
Yeah, I'm a spooky babe, so I was like, yeah, it's got to come out on that day.
I love Halloween as well, so what number book is this in the series? Because it's part of a series, right?
Yeah, so it's book 4, and it is the third book that's going to be set in Autumn Court. The third and final book set in Autumn Court.
I love the covers to these because they're so warm and like not just the background, but the characters as well. And this one particularly, like her dress is so beautiful. It's all red and gold, and it's perfect for this time of year.
I'm biased, but I absolutely love the covers for this series, and I really lucked out with my cover designer, Sarah. She's so lovely, and she always gets so excited whenever I send her the specs for the next cover, and she really delivers. And I'm always so excited when I see them. And I'm rubbish, like for doing cover reveals. The second I get it in an email from her, I'm like, I need to show everybody right now.
It is really hard holding back when you want to just show the world. And yeah, I don't blame you there. The vibe you can really feel. It's kind of like a rivals to lovers thing, which reading the blurb, that's the vibe I'm getting as well.
I mean, it's kind of. I don't want to say enemies to lovers because I don't think they're really enemies. They just don't see eye to eye. Like, they don't really like each other. It's more of like a hate to love kind of situation.
Yeah, like a rival thing.
Yeah, like they're just batting head and both really stubborn. Yeah, so that's definitely the vibe I was going for, which is awesome.
And this is the first queer one in the series. The first three were straight, and then this one.
Yeah, so I do have a sapphic main character in my Threya Saga series, but when I embarked on the Fated Fae series, I was like, I really want to kind of up the queer. Now, Fae's Flight, which was the second book in the series, both those characters were bisexual, but the book ended on a hetero romance. So this is my first sapphic, all the lesbian vibes book. So that's been really exciting for me to write.
Yeah, I didn't know that the ones in book two were both bisexual, and that's definitely, even if they're in quote unquote het passing, that's still a queer relationship to me. And I really like the way that you write characters and all their different facets like that, because Rivius is also bisexual in the Thoracia series. So, like, yeah, but what made you decide that you wanted to do the switch from epic fantasy, which was your first series, to something cozier and more romantic?
There's a twofold answer to this because the first element was I was writing, like you said, the epic high fantasy. Like, it's very heavy. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of, character development and world building and lore. And especially when, like me, you decide to write from multiple points of view, you've really got to, have your brain switched on to be able to tie everything together and make sure all the separate elements of the story are threading together correctly to complete the whole tapestry. And that takes its toll. That really is quite tricky to manage sometimes, especially if you're having like a bad mental health day or something like that. So I, figured I'd try, let's just write something that's a bit lighter. But I was also really heavily inspired by a series that I was reading at the time. And it was similar in the sense that there was this one kind of kickstarting moment that threw two groups of people together. And then each book followed a different couple. There was one kind of overarching plot, but each book was a different couple and they sort of got together. And then in the next book, it moved on to the next sort of couple and the series moved on like that. And I was really inspired by that. And I thought, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make it fae and I'm going to make it queer.
I love that. It's nice to do something different. And like fantasy and epic fantasy can be really tough to deal with for a while. And it's nice to put that on the back burner and kind of switch it up because you still are working on the other series.
Yeah, and it's nice to just sort of bounce back and forth. Like, I was working on the Threya Saga earlier this year and I hit a bit of a mental block and I wasn't in the best sort of headspace. And I was like, you know what? I just need cozy autumn lesbians. So I just changed lanes. And it's really nice, especially being indie, being able to have that kind of flexibility and just go, nope, the heavy stuff's just going to have to wait. I'm going to work on something a bit fluffier.
Don't we all just need cozy, fluffy fall lesbians? I mean, I feel like that would make me feel better too.
Yeah. It's a vibe for sure.
It really is. So, is that what you like to read as well? Like, what drew you to epic fantasy and just fantasy in general?
I mean, I've always been into books and I've always read books. And, I've always enjoyed ones that have that fantastical element to them. So I've always enjoyed books with magic and mythical creatures and, things that are a bit more out of this world. I don't want to read books about like going and doing the grocery shopping or, going and working in an office job. I want to read about big epic battles and sword fights and, warriors and magicians and things. And that's always inspired me. And then as I got into reading a bit more, especially when I picked up a load more books like most of us did during the pandemic, it really broadened my horizons on what other sort of storytelling was going on. And it wasn't just, your sort of classic fantasy anymore. There were sort of subgenres and, other ways of telling those stories that included more things that I like. So yeah, that was really what inspired me.
I love that very much. And I do agree with you with like the pandemic. I think it brought a lot of people around to reading again and just realizing, oh, there's a lot here, especially with indie authors. And I mean, that's mostly what I read nowadays is indie.
Yeah, same. It just opens up a whole new variety of books. And, I think it does lend itself to some of those, I want to say less popular genres. I think they're just less popular in traditional publishing. I think there's some subgenres that are very popular in indie publishing. And those are the books that I do tend to kind of lean more towards now. So make of that what you will.
And what made you decide that you wanted to indie publish? Like, what has your journey been like?
Really, I blame TikTok because, like everyone else in the pandemic, I joined TikTok as just something to do. And I just stumbled on the bookish community. And I'd always been writing stories. I always had them sort of floating around in the back of my head. And, I'd been writing them down just for fun. And I'd never even heard of indie publishing until then. And I'm quite an impatient person. And I sort of knew like, oh, well, I could, submit to agents and publishers and things like that. But I really didn't want to wait years and years and years to see my books in print. And I was fortunate enough to have a bit more free time and a partner who's really supportive of it. And she just sort of said, like, just do it, like, just go for it. So I was like, well, okay, I will. So I did a ton of research and like it's a straight up vertical learning curve. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it myself. So that's what I did. Like that sort of DIY can do attitude. Like I'm just going to do it myself.
And you did, and I love your books, and I love Swords and Spears, and I can't wait for the next ones. Isles of Intrigue was good too, and it is a really steep learning curve, and I'm sure like me, you probably have that like, oh, I wish I had done this differently. Like, is there anything you feel like that about that you wish you've known back then?
I don't know, because I think the journey is important to do it the way that you do it. Otherwise, you would miss certain learning opportunities.
That's true.
Like, there are things that I'm glad I know now, and I definitely approach some things differently. I don't really have any one thing in particular. And I think it also depends on who you are as a person. Like, I've seen some people really struggle with the marketing element of it, but, they can write like 3 books a month. Whereas I've seen people who really struggle with the writing and, it takes them, a year or 2 per book. But they're constantly doing like really creative marketing and advertising for their books. And they've got like 1 book out or 2 books out. And I just think it depends on who you are as a person to where you need to direct your learning and what you might have maybe done differently if you had different tools available to you at the start. But I'm just here for the journey and to enjoy it and to entertain other people.
So is that what you think kind of motivates you to write? You definitely have that storyteller kind of vibe. You're in it for the stories.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said, I didn't want this to be the only thing that I do. I would love to quit my job in corporate and write full time and just be, story, story, story all the time. And I do think that is a pipe dream for many author. But I really do just love the art of storytelling and entertaining other people. Like my absolute favorite thing in the world is getting a friend or a family member, or even better, a complete stranger, reach out to you and say like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you killed this character off, or plot twist, like I didn't see that coming, or this romance had me absolutely swooning, I loved it, it's my favorite book I've read this week, or any sort of feedback like that. Anytime someone's had a real visceral reaction to a story that I've written,
A feeling.
yeah, like
Yeah, like a real emotion.
yeah, I live for that.
Do you think there's things that you come back to, like there's themes that you revisit in each of your works, or is there something that you like to write about in particular in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, we can't deny I do love a bit of hurt comfort.
Just a wee bit.
Well, I read it a lot. I really enjoy reading it just because I think it makes for such good character growth when that's included. So I do tend to involve that in all shapes and forms in my books. But I also, it really is like the romance element for me and, finding that person or persons. And one thing that I've been reading a bit more of recently, including yours, that I want to do a little bit more of is platonic love. So sort of more found family and friendships and things, because that's something I feel like I could work on. And as much as I love the romance element of it, it's love in all of its forms. And that's definitely something that I want to try and incorporate a bit more moving forwards.
Like I immediately just think of like Rivius and Soren and the love that's between them and the people that live in the trees and like their community and how much they kind of love each other. Like I feel like you do it really well, but there is always,
I mean, I love Soren and Rubius together. Like they've got such a good bromance. And I think, do you know what I would love? Anybody who's listening, if you want to do this, like this is for you. I would love fan fiction of those two.
Yeah.
I could see that on on the fan fiction sites, like people shipping Soren and Rivius together. Like I'm 100% down for any of that fan fiction. Like please send it to me. I want to read it. Or maybe I should do an AU for them. But
I was just gonna say you could do like a prequel AU when they were boys learning this art of the sword, hint hint, nudge
yeah,
nudge.
nudge nudge, swords crossing and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely lost track of what I was talking about now.
Oh, we've made Luna blush.
Where are we going with this? I've lost it.
Platonic love. And that's to say,
Platonic love. Yeah, it's something that I would like to do a little bit more because I think it gives a little bit of hope. And like, I'm going to be the fangirl now and say, like, that's how I feel after reading your Lavenna books, because they've got a really big group of friends and they're all there for each other. And it's not just focusing on the romance, there's all these extra people on the sidelines that are rooting for the two main characters. I absolutely love that. And it makes you feel like you're home when you're reading those books. So that is something that does inspire me. And yeah, I would like to include that more in my books.
well, thank you. I find it's a good way to show the reader why or why not a character should be likable. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting to see the interactions between the main character and the other characters. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you do with that. But I already do think you do a good job, but I'm also biased, so.
Well, thank you.
Speaking of characters, do you have a favorite? We can limit it to the Fated Fae series for now, and then we'll ask for the other series.
I mean, this is difficult. And Sebastian's asked me this before. And every time I get asked this, I have a different answer. Because I really think it depends on what you're working on sort of there and then. So at the moment, I am going to say Autumn Lady from Fae's Bargain. I can't tell you her name because that is revealed in the book as part of the Fae lore.
Oh,
When, if a bargain is made or a mating bond is accepted, then that's when a name is revealed. So I can't tell you her name, but she starts out so sort of closed off emotionally and so like stubborn, and she comes across really sort of cold and doesn't care about anybody else. And you just get to peel back all her different layers and discover what's underneath the cold facade. And I'm absolutely living for it.
I love those kinds of characters.
Yeah, like we met her in book one. So the readers will have had like a bit of her in book one. She wasn't in book two. Oh, she wasn't book two. Book two, book three, she's been in all three of them.
Nice.
And so now we get to find out like what's really going on with her, like really get to sort of the inner Autumn Lady and, figure out, what she's all about and what's going on there. So yeah, it's good, exciting times.
Okay, now for the Thracia series.
It has to be. Oh, I don't know. I haven't been in the Threa saga for a while. Can I pick two?
I guess. Okay.
I'm looking for two. Right. So on one side, I've got Rivius, my little bisexual disaster.
Gremlin.
Because he's just so cocky and he's so much fun, but he's got like this deep-rooted trauma that rears its ugly head every now and then. And I absolutely love his friendship with Soren and his general outlook on life when it's not coloured by his trauma. So I love him as a side character, but he does get his own POV in the next book. And I love my cinnamon roll Comrith.
Yeah.
Like, he is just such a sweet boy, and he's just so, I just want to wrap him up in bubble wrap and protect him. You know, like, he's just so sweet and so endearing, and yeah, like, he's got a very special place in my heart.
Oh, I really do love him too. He is so just, like you say, he's just so sweet. And I really want to see him just like stand up to the bad guys. And he kind of does in the first, he kind of already starts to, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I need to see him stab someone, but also he's too sweet for that.
Okay, note made. Noah wants to see Comrade stab somebody. I'm going to add that to my author notes.
It might traumatize him too much though, so I mean, maybe just a little poke.
I've got worse things planned for him.
Oh gosh. So when it comes to phase, when it comes to phase bargain, what do you want readers to take away from the story?
Oh, that's a good one. I think at the heart of it, there's a real element of being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be vulnerable around other people, and not always having to face everything by yourself, and sort of trusting that sometimes other people have your back, and that it's okay to sort of admit when you might need a bit of help, or like, don't be afraid to sort of show your true colours, that's okay. And I think sometimes people can be too scared to be their true authentic self for whatever reason, and it is okay to share your true self with people, because I think that does apply to both main characters in this one.
Do you think that's why they find each other?
I think that's why the fates sort of chose them for each other, because that's sort of the law in these books, is that it's sort of preordained and predestined. It's already been decided that these two are fated to be together. They're just too stubborn and sort of fighting it. And I think that that's why these two work so well, because eventually they sort of drag each other kicking and screaming out of their shells and out from behind their sort of walls and their barriers and their shields, and uncover, you know, what's really underneath, and seeing value in each other.
Oh, that's so sweet and romantic.
I know, right? I love it.
So what is next for you? Are you going to continue at the Fated Fae, or are you going back to Thrasius, or what is new for Luna Daye?
I'm feeling like I'm ready to go back to Thraeus now. I've had quite a big break from that, and I feel really bad to my readers, but honestly, it's only so that I can give it my best. So I'm really feeling ready to attack that now. I think I got about a quarter of a way through at the beginning of the year before I parked it, so I'm going to pick that back up. And then I've also got, not really book, but I am doing my 2025 versions of the Bookish Buddy, which is my sort of reading journal tracker notepads that I've been making.
I love mine. I got the special version.
You did. You got the Noah's special edition.
I did. And I colored my little dragon in it. It was great. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely doing that again for 2025. Got some updated artwork to go in there, updated covers. And I'm also thinking about doing like a care package version. So you don't just get the journal, you get like the tools you need for the journal as well. So extra stickers, colouring stuff, and like some other goodies that are going to make it more of a sort of experience, like hot beverage, like sachets and like candle melts and things like that, like in a big box. So it's like I have a whole experience in a box kind of thing.
The buddy box. I love that.
It's a buddy box. Yes.
The buddy box. It's a thing now. It's happened.
It's a thing. I painted it.
I approve this message. So we know that we can find Face Bargain on Halloween. Where can we find it?
So it is currently up for pre-order on my website, which is lunadaye.com, and the pre-order bundle comes with a load of extra goodies like bookmarks and a map and some character art. And then on the 31st, it is going to be available on Amazon, either as a paperback or as an ebook, and it is going to be included in KU. So anyone who has a subscription there will be able to read it for free.
Awesome. And I've seen the bookish art, and it is so beautiful, and the bookmarks. I love the swag.
I love good swag, and I'm always such a sucker for it. Like, I will happily spend extra money on an author's like website to get all the extra stuff, like give me all the artwork, give me all the bookmarks and the stickers and things. So I love being able to provide that for my readers as well, and I like having it myself as well. I just like having all the artwork around of all my characters. It's lovely.
It is very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if I'm ever feeling in a bit of a like I'm not in the mood to read, I just get out the art folder and I'm like, oh, I love the okay, let's go.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it was great chatting with you, and I'm so excited to check out the next book in your series, Fae's Bargain.
Thank you for having me.